Broadcasting live from the Joy 106.3 FM studios, it's the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show with host Coach Darold D Williams. Wildcats, let's flip the switch and do this.
Very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show. I'm your host, Coach Darold Williams, here with my co-host, Mr. Ralph Smith, and my other co-host, the professor, Mr. Larry Wesley. This evening, we won't be joined by Mr. CC Cruse. Diesel went up a little bit, and he couldn't make it here, but we'll push on in spite of. Gentlemen, how's your week? First up, Ralph.
Well, you know, if for all the audience out there that are listening to us, that tells me that their life is back to somewhat of normal, and so is my family. And God bless that everybody came through this okay, and hopefully it won't be long before everything else gets back to normal.
Definitely so. The professor, how's it going, sir?
I have to echo exactly what Ralph said. Blessings and greetings to the Wildcat Nation out there. We're so fortunate here in Daytona, many of us, that we were spared the wrath of this storm, other than water and wind damage. No property damage, particularly at my house, I can say that, and most of the friends I've checked in with. So just blessed to be here. College has taken a little bit of a hit.
Definitely so.
And hopefully we can get it back in order. In such a way that the kids can get back on campus as quickly as possible to continue with the academic year.
Definitely so. Huge shout out to everyone in the Daytona and our listening area all over the country. Thank you for praying for Daytona Beach. Thank you for praying for Southwest Florida and all of Florida. We thank you for your prayers. Continue to keep us in prayer. Continue to especially pray for our athletic teams that are, on the road. They've been, I know the football team has been displaced since last Tuesday. And they've been on the road between, Alabama and Tennessee. Currently they're in Tennessee right now. Special thanks to all those who've helped and continue to help, including the universities, Vanderbilt, Lipscomb. There's a number of them that have helped our football team and our other athletic teams that are also on the road. So you're in our prayers, everyone. Tune in to the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show. We'll continue to do everything we can to lift you up and help out in the community and surrounding areas. That'll take us right into our SWAC week recap. First up, our Wildcats go to Huntsville, Alabama. 2 p.m. kickoff Central Standard Time. Great homecoming atmosphere. I know myself, Ralph, and a couple other Wildcat fans there. Tarsha, huge shout out to everyone who was able to make it to Alabama, even with what we faced. So, final score of that contest: Alabama A&M 35, Bethune Cookman 27, and we'll get to that recap here shortly. Next up, Mississippi Valley State goes down to FAMU. Final score of that game: FAMU 34, Mississippi Valley 7. I don't think any surprises there, huh, guys?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Next up, Alabama State goes to Texas Southern. Alabama State, former Wildcat Ryan Lewis comes out with a victory. Alabama State 16, Texas Southern 13. We all thought, Texas Southern was riding on a high, and Alabama State went in there and knocked them off. So,
very, very hot ball club. Texas Southern had just put up significant points against University of Texas San Antonio.
Yes.
Where they scored over 21 points, and for Bama State and Ryan Lewis's defense to hold Texas Southern to 13, that's a great yeoman job that he's doing on the defensive side for Bama State.
It definitely is. It definitely is a great job, and we'll see them here for homecoming. Next up, Arkansas Pine Bluff goes to Southern. Southern gets the victory there, 59-3. Is Southern starting to creep back, and not to take anything away from Arkansas Pine Bluff?
Well, Eric Dooley is a great offensive coach. I just could not believe his team would stay as weak as they've shown offensively. And so maybe Arkansas Pine Bluff was exactly what the doctor ordered, because that 59-point score is indicative of the kind of points that his offensive productions can produce, as they did at Prairie View and previously at Grambling when he coached the offensive side of the football there. So we know he's very capable on that end, and that's more of a Southern score. The trick will be, can they follow this up for the remainder of the season to put those kind of points together?
Definitely so. It remains to definitely be seen if they can definitely do that. Next up will be Prairie View A&M goes to Grambling. Final score of that game, Prairie View 34, Grambling 14.
Well, that's that Texas Classic in Dallas there, and it's a rivalry kind of game. I continue to be impressed by the leadership that Prairie View is getting from Bubba Wallace, the former All-American down at the University of Miami. First-time head coach at Prairie View, takes over for Eric Dooley. And his ball club right now has been playing steady throughout the year. They're odds-on favorites to win the SWAC coming out of the West. So you got to be impressed with what they've done. They handle their business really well, taking it one game at a time.
Definitely so. And that wraps up our SWAC week pretty quickly there. Now we'll go to our Pro First Sports Management SWAC week schedule, and including the rankings, where we do have a plethora of teams playing on this weekend. Grambling goes to Alabama A&M. That's a 2 p.m. kickoff. That game is in Huntsville, Alabama. Who do you like in that game, guys?
Grambling.
So Grambling gets their first one of the year?
I got to believe, second.
Second,
I got to believe that Grambling has the firepower to get that done. And not taking anything away from Alabama A&M, but they're a little more one-dimensional, running the football and not being able to throw it really well. So Grambling's going to put some points up. I would think that if it's a track meet, I'd have to favor Grambling.
Right, definitely. So I would take those odds also. Next up, we have FAMU at South Carolina State. That's a 2 p.m. kickoff there in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
That's going to be an interesting game. I kind of wish I was there to see that one. I was extremely impressed with South Carolina State when we played them. I wasn't that impressed when they played North Carolina Central, but I think they still have a good ball club, and I'm not sure how good A&M is, but we'll find out Saturday.
Yeah, it's a rivalry game, whether the teams are in the same conference or not. These two programs have known each other for years. And
I think he was on the line. Jerry, you there with us? We'll try to get him in here shortly. Next up, we have Jackson State at Alabama State. It's Alabama State's homecoming. That's all that Coach Prime is talking about, that you brought us to Alabama for homecoming.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes the schedule just works out.
But Coach, he doesn't understand that.
But I know.
Yeah, he doesn't understand.
A lot of these new coaches take everything so personal. So, the idea probably for Prime is that, how dare you play us for homecoming? It'll be very interesting. Ryan Lewis will certainly get his test this week trying to slow down that high-powered Jackson State offensive team. I just don't think Bama State has enough firepower to keep up.
To get that job done.
Close to Jackson. Yeah, I see this.
One-sided since Buddy Pugh's been up there. So I think it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, every year is its own season. But I'm just going to take the history. I let South Carolina State win that game. And then, again, to go with Larry's point, listen, sometimes the schedule just line up. We played South Carolina State for homecoming in 2019, and that didn't go too well for us.
No.
And so now, who last State of Montgomery, they put the old throwback picture of Prime Time up there. Coach Prime's going to take this personal, and I think those guys, he's going to do to Alabama State what he did to Alabama A&M last year at homecoming and embarrass them. That's my thing. I
agree. But Jerry, that series up until last year, South Carolina State had won 13 straight against A&M.
Right. 13 straight and something like, it was like 15 over the last 17 or something like that.
Well, one of the things I've always said, and keeping up with what you and Jerry have talked about, it has been a series that's been dominated more recently by Buddy Pugh. But here's the one thing that FAMU does that gives Florida A&M problems. They put the football in the air. You remember 2 years ago, they came back and miraculously beat South Carolina State at the buzzer.
Yeah.
They were up. Yeah. FAMU was up big. State came back, took the lead. Florida A&M scored within the last 40 seconds of the game in Orangeburg to shock them. And I don't think you make a lot of living running the football on the Bulldogs. They're strong in the trenches, but I think you can find some spaces in the air game. And the FAMU football team is certainly going to attack. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Like I said, it's going to take easily over 30 points to win this football game. I think the over-under on this between the two teams, you'll see 60 points scored in this football game, minimum.
Wow.
Next up, Texas Southern versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. 3 p.m. kickoff. That game is in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
I picked Texas Southern on this game.
Yeah, I think they bounce back.
Yeah, they bounce back. They really do.
Then Southern at Prairie View. Coach Dooley goes back to his former team. That's a 5 p.m. kickoff there in Blackshear Field in Prairie View.
That's personal, right?
Yeah, it's very personal.
Prairie View win.
I would tend to favor Prairie View as well. Like I said, I can't help but be very impressed with the job that the first-year coaching staff of Bubba McDowell, who was actually on the staff that Dooley had last year. So these two teams know each other real well. That'd be a very interesting football game to follow.
Definitely one to follow, and we will be keeping track of that. That game is the same kickoff time as our game there. Then we have Bethune-Cookman versus Tennessee State. That's a 5 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff there in Nashville in Nissan Stadium. Of course, it's their homecoming, and we will cover that shortly. And then our last game in the SWAC, Alcorn State at Mississippi Valley State. Jackson State comes in 2-0 in the conference, 4-0 overall. They're number 1. FAMU comes in at 2-1, 3-2 overall. Alabama State 1-1, 3-2 overall. Bethune-Cookman 1-1 in the conference, 1-3 overall. Alabama A&M 1-1, 1-4 overall. Mississippi Valley State 0-2, 0-5 overall. In the West, Prairie View 3-0, they're 3-2 overall. Alcorn State 1-0, they're 2-2 overall. Southern is 1-1 overall, they are 2-2. Texas Southern is 1-2 overall, 1-4. Arkansas Pine Bluff 0-2, 2-3 overall, and Grambling State rounds it out 0-2, 1-4 overall. There you have it for the SWAC, and for all those interested, guys, it's been tumultuous 2 weeks. The last time we were here in Daytona, came away with a victory. Didn't get to cover that one last week, as we know what occurred over the state of Florida. Anything you guys want to say from that Grambling game that we didn't get to cover? In a quick synopsis.
Yeah, I'll say this. In the post-game interview, one of the things that Coach Sims kept talking about, he was really excited about, his team's performance, but he kept saying, they had a bye week before Grambling, and really that bye week, that was the first full week of practice they had. And so he kept talking about all the disruptions they had, throughout the season with all of the rain in Daytona. You couldn't get it, all of the lightning delays. So they couldn't really get through a full week of practice at any time during, heading into the season. So he was real excited about the way his team played against Grambling because they finally got in a couple of good weeks of practice and consecutive practices without being disrupted and interrupted. So he thought they were heading in the right direction. And then, Mother Nature being Mother Nature, comes along and throws in one of the biggest disruptions that I can ever remember. And so, just very interesting, right? That the thing that he was kind of hanging his hat on wind up coming back, and now it's the biggest thing for him to juggle right now. So I just thought, just kind of coming from one game leading into the next, as far as on the field, just how quickly things change and how much you have to manage in the world of college football.
Right. I mean, like you said, basically to come off the field on that Saturday and, know that your student athletes have to be off campus by basically noon on that Monday, and you have a road game coming up against your second conference game, and you don't know what to expect, and we'll cover this some more, but you come out of that Grambling game riding on a high. You got your first victory of the season in conference victory. And then you put quite a few young men on the road, not knowing what's really going on back here in Daytona. And, of course, we go into Alabama, which, we seemed a little flat coming out. And woke up in the second half, or near the second half, going into halftime, and then came back out with the same flatness. But
that press release went out from Bethune Cookman Saturday night.
Right.
That the campus would be closing at noon on Monday. And I remember getting up Sunday morning and driving through the campus, and kids and their parents were loading up vehicles then. Many parents had come to the college. And by Sunday evening, you could see that many people were already out of town. And then by Monday morning, when I went through at 12 o'clock, it was most like a ghost town.
Definitely.
So all of that transition, and I'm sitting around wondering how, knowing what the weather was showing, if we're going to fly, we got to be out of here by Tuesday.
Yes.
If we're going to fly, because all flights were going to be shut down on Wednesday. And so not knowing anything, from the outside looking in, and then finding out that the football team left 8 a.m. Tuesday morning with a stopover in Tallahassee for lunch, and then go on to Huntsville. They actually did not stay in Alabama. They stayed in Tennessee. Right. Right. So that has to be the imposition of all imposition, if you would, in terms of being displaced and dislodged. And, two teams in this situation. I liken this to what happened to us some years ago when, can't remember which one of the we get hurricanes every year, but we were playing out. We were playing an out of conference game. We were actually playing. Twice it happened. It happened once with Coach Sims, but once with Wyatt. But we were plying Arkansas Pine Bluff. And we had the storm already here on top of us, and we had to fly out to fly the team out to Little Rock, Arkansas. Right. But the same thing happened as it related to Southeast Louisiana. Yeah. We spent time out at Southern, Right. And in each of those situations, your team has to rally to, you hope that they build some togetherness in that situation. Right. You come together or you fall apart in that regard. In both of those games, we did win. That's not necessarily over for what has happened now, but we definitely had a winnable ball game Saturday, even though we came out, as you said,
on the short end,
the short end of it. But it'll be interesting to see. One thing, we probably have gotten a good week of practice in this week in Nashville. We're in a more stabilized situation, albeit displaced from home. But it's home away from home right now. Yeah. And it's more easier to follow the schedule because nobody has classes. Right. Everybody's all there together. I'm certain nobody's missed any meals. I know there's a lot of eating going on.
Yeah, we heard about that.
Yeah, we've already heard that. So
Yeah.
So hopefully we come out and give a good account of ourselves this weekend.
Ralph, you and I, as I said, amongst other Wildcats, journeyed to Alabama A&M, homecoming for Alabama A&M. They come into that contest 0-4. We come in there 1-2 at the time. Give me the atmosphere pulling in there.
Alabama A&M was celebrating. You could hear him 5 hours away.
Man.
But you know, like I was saying to you at that game, I said if we tie this score at half,
Right.
we're gonna win the game.
Right. You sure did.
I said we're gonna win this game, and I was somewhat taken back that we came out so flat. It was like we went back to the first quarter and played exactly the way we played in the first quarter. And I was a little bit taken back on that because I knew we had the better team. I could understand it. Did they come back out overconfident? Because Alabama A&M just ran basically the same play.
It was a lot of the same plays. They go up 14-0. You know, for a while it looked like, oh boy. And as you said, you know, we got to get back in this game. And, you know, then Mari Hill Robinson picks it off, and that's the turning point.
Yes.
Which, you know, we don't condemn any refs, but it was, you know.
Well, yeah, that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, right.
They said he was out of bounds, and we looking directly at him. He was maybe 3 yards.
Right.
But, you know, I tended not to. That was just one call, and we.
Yeah, amongst many.
Yeah,
but
amongst many. And
we had to handle our own business.
yeah, we got to take care, because if you're going to put it in their hands, then you're going to lose every time.
Right.
You know, we got to take care of business, and we didn't do that in the second half.
Come back, knock things up 14-14. Right before halftime. As you said, we're fired up. Everyone's jacked up who are wearing the maroon and gold, and we go in at halftime. You know, the players are moving around at halftime. We're, you know, down there, under there, and come back out.
Flat as a pan.
Alabama A&M comes out with the same thing, same running game, 21-14. First drive of the second half. Then we close it back. We score, and
Somebody came up with this fantastic idea.
go for two, right?
Let's go for
To me,
two.
that was the turning point of the game, right
Yes, sir,
there.
Jared.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
We grabbed the momentum, like you said. They had an opportunity to go up 21-0. Hill Robinson showed why he's a all SWAC player.
Right.
Picks it off. We get the momentum back. So the game is close. Now I didn't we came out. We're pretty flat. That first drive they drove down. We come back. We match them. We have an opportunity to just kick the field goal and stay on schedule. Instead, you get to 2 points. Now you chasing the game again, and you just see all of a sudden it's like we just never got it back. Now, thankfully, the offense responded pretty well as far as moving the ball.
Of course.
But it always felt like we were chasing, and it's just off. I hate that. It just felt like you were just chasing the game instead of just now. I get it. You want to be aggressive, but sometimes it's being aggressive, and then there's it don't work. It feels desperate. And so now these guys, let's face it, these guys are still learning how to win. And some of that's evident by the fact that you start a game on the road, you start off flat. Well, you respond, and you come out after halftime, now you're flat all over again. Well, you got all the momentum. You got to come out, set the tone.
Yep.
But all of that is learning how to win. And so you got a team, maybe the coaching staff thought, we go out, we get the 2-point conversion, we got a decent look, and we play with the lead, and maybe these guys play with a little bit more momentum. But I'm just like, just kick it. Just kick it. So, but I thought that's where the game changed right there, and we just never got it back.
It's early change right there.
Guys, I got to throw this out. We're talking football. And the teacher in me, never played it down before in my life, but the teacher in me says that coaching is teaching and teaching is coaching.
Correct.
And football is a physical game, but
Yes.
it's also very psychological.
Very.
Very psychological. And we're dealing with a very fragile football team as Bethune Cookman because we don't have a lot of senior leadership.
Right.
We don't have that. And leadership is so very important. So therefore, I think that's where your coaches have to intercede and do more coaching there in the locker room, keeping people up and making
Right.
decisions that, as Jerry said, you don't chase points, not that early in a football game. You
There was
really
no
don't.
need.
That's a fragile thing for a fragile psychological team. You might not think that 1 point meant that much. But when you look up at that
Meant a lot,
scoreboard
yeah.
and you see it tied, it is significantly different, even though it's 1 point being down.
Let's just say it goes the other way, and we're tied up, and you're pretty much pressing them. It's their homecoming; they have to win the game for their home fans. So the pressure is now on them. They were up 14-0 on you. Now it's
we came back.
14-14.
Yeah.
Now it's 21-21. So what is going on here?
And
Are we about to go 0-5?
Even if you get the 2 point conversion,
Right.
and you go up one, you're not stopping that team.
No.
22-21 is not going to be the final score.
No.
So stay even, keep it even, take it into the fourth quarter.
Right.
You're on the road. Give yourself a chance to pull it out in the end. What do we know about homecomings? They have homecomings in Daytona. We know that by the fourth quarter, the half the crowd's going to go to the party.
Right.
Exactly.
And
they leave.
I mean,
they jammed the whole game. There was a speaker right outside the stadium, and I mean, they didn't even have to have any music inside the stadium. The band didn't have to play because, they had a great homecoming atmosphere. But most of their fans were outside.
Of course.
The way we went in at halftime, we could have easily, pulled that contest out.
I got excited at halftime because I was watching the game, and having some snacks out at Miller's Ale House because it was one of the few places that had power.
That was
so
open.
I'm sitting there the whole game, and I'm like, we're tied, man. We're back in this thing. Now we can win it because if we stay even with them, the crowd will be leaving,
Right.
and then we can pull this thing out in the fourth quarter. I'm looking at the scores and watching the video here, and I'm like, then we missed the field goal. We missed the short field goal,
Right.
and from that point on, it was ball game over.
Yeah.
But my thought at that point, and when we were trying to get the momentum back, we were in their territory, and I think it was 4th and 3, and I'm thinking, why kick a field goal though? Because if you don't make it, that means they got to drive 80-something yards to score.
Right.
Why don't we go for it?
Right.
Yeah.
And it just don't seem that we are willing to take those kind of chances.
No.
We're playing conservative, and we are not in a position to be conservative.
Yeah, that was the time to be.
And everyone was playing. Everyone was playing. Everyone has played us to win. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. Everyone has played us
Yeah.
to win. So.
But we continue to be conservative. It's
One of the other things we may develop this further on in the program. We've talked about this. It's going to take 35 to 40 points for us to win.
Right.
exactly.
So
Right.
we need to know that going in. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Because we're struggling to stop anybody defensively.
Especially with the run. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
they ran the ball on us 50 times.
yeah.
50 times.
For 250 yards.
Yep.
I'll say this: it was a bad time to be without your best defensive lineman. Pearson not being out there again. One player, I get it, but
Yeah.
we lose Pearson. I don't know exactly what his injury is, but he goes down in Alabama. I'm sorry, the Grambling game.
Grambling game.
And then you watch those guys just kind of of all things, just my personal preference. Sometimes you lose games, you get that. But one thing it is when teams just big boy you. They just ran the ball right at us. It wasn't
No razzle dazzle,
Like the
just
Connell
counter and yeah. And you're
It
saying
was
get
just
back.
line up, buckle up your chin strap, and get downhill. And when they, and so they got to the point they threw the ball, it was just simple, little routes out to the counter,
Right in.
just a little waggle action, come back, get the guy to SWAC, easy convert, come back and just hand the ball off to run it down our throat, and we couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't believe that. I was shocked.
Yeah, it's
Well, we've had enough sample size to know that is the MO
for
for
sure.
Bethune-Cookman. So we're going to, as far as teams playing us, they're going to do that. You're going to get a heavy dose of that this weekend.
Would you say that our identity has changed to SWAC ball when the SWAC SWAC teams who've been in the
They went to the MEAC.
Yeah, they went to MEAC, ground and pound, put the big back in, All he did, he took a page out of FAMU's playbook from the Classic. And,
Yeah.
But,
the other thing that I'm going to interject here, too, though, now, in as much as our offense is coming pretty close to averaging 400 yards a game, we still missing a very, very important clog piece of that offense.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the offensive line coach, who has not been there for the last 3 games. And now we have a grad assistant that's coaching the line. And if you look at our line play, because we're unable to run the ball.
especially on the edge. The edge is,
They're killing us on the edge.
they are. They're
killing us.
Those ends just pin their ears back and,
And just take off.
yeah.
And if you look
It's
at
hard for your quarterback to roll out.
if you look at the majority of our penalties, the 10 penalties, most of them was called on our linemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, plethora of holding,
Yeah.
reaching and grabbing.
Yeah. So we do miss Coach Pearson. We miss him. I mean, he's a very, very good offensive line coach, and we miss
He
him.
definitely is.
But that, my concern though, it's not. I have concerns with the offense, but they are putting up 30. My concern is with the defense inability to make adjustments to what teams are doing to them. That's what my issue is. I know a lot of people probably didn't think we were going to miss Yogi, but one thing, what Yogi would do, whatever you did to him in the first half, he would not allow you to do that the second half.
Yeah.
But the teams that we're playing now, whatever they start with, that's what they end with. We're not making any adjustments.
We
Yeah, it seems to me. It seems to me that what we're trying to, Coach Sim says this a lot. I'm with Ben, but don't break. That's the kind of thing as far as defense and that sort of thing. It seems to me that he wants to keep things as simple as possible to make sure guys are in the right position and they're not thinking too much and all that stuff. And I get that. I mean, I think that's I get that. But at some point, you got to vary. These are college kids. They're on
Right.
scholarship. You got to be able to do enough things to keep the other guys off balance. And I think might be a little bit too predictable on defense. We're not varied enough. But that's just my opinion from the outside looking in.
definitely so. We got to get back to our identity and try to identify who we are and play Wildcat football. We'll come back after our break and talk more Wildcat football, BCU versus Alabama A&M.
You're listening to Joy,
See the Sims call you. Let's get him
106.3.
on this.
I will call upon the Lord, for he is worthy to be praised. I will call upon the Lord, for he is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. I will call upon the Lord, for he
We're back here on the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show. We're discussing Wildcat football. Our Wildcats go into Alabama A&M on this past Saturday and come up short in that contest, 35-27. Our stats from that game: Jalen Jones finishes the game 24 of 38 for 353 yards and a touchdown. Not a bad outing, but we still want to bring the W home. Final stats from that contest: Bethune-Cookman 22 first downs, Alabama A&M 27. Of those, we kind of changed it up. Rushing, we had 4, Alabama A&M 15. Passing, we had 15, Alabama A&M had 11. As far as net rushing yards, Bethune-Cookman ends the day with 84 rushing yards, and Alabama A&M 255 rushing yards. As far as passing the ball, Bethune-Cookman ends the day 364 passing yards, Alabama A&M 204. For total, Bethune-Cookman 448 yards, Alabama A&M 459. Out of these stats, guys, do you see anything that stands out at you that leads you to have concern?
Yeah, can I jump in on this end?
Sure.
As far as concerned, I do want to give shout out to Jalen Jones. Man. He had a great game.
He did.
So the kid accounted for over 400 yards of offense, 353 yards passing, 55 yards rushing. I thought Jalen played extremely well, and given what you guys said about the offensive line coach being out, in the first half, Alabama A&M, they blitzed us a lot, kind of kept us off balance. But he kept a lot of plays alive with his feet. He got the ball out of his hand, got it in the hands of the playmakers. And Kamari Everett, he had one of his better games of the season so far. And so, again, I do want to give a shout out and say that, that kid played very, very well and kept us in this game and gave us a chance to win.
Definitely so. Definitely gave us a chance. I mean, had to run a lot. And he took some licks in this contest, but he got up and kept going. Even when he came out for the series and had to put Franklin in, he came back in and still continued to play with his Wildcat spirit. So, hats off to Jalen. Anything else that just?
Well, I think the offense showed that through Jalen having a good game and distributing the football to a variety of players. You could not load up on any one particular receiver or what have you. I still think we've got to find ways to get the football to Quayshawn Byrd in space. If you can't hand it to him, we got to get that ball in his hand a little bit more in space. Let that be an extension of your running game by flaring him out, what have you, in that regard. But we got to be able to deal with that offensively. I thought we called a really good offensive game. We moved the football well enough.
Yes.
We probably left some points off the board. Should have scored more than what we did. We know that. But kudos to the offensive line. Offensive side of the football. Even though we had the mishaps with up front with the line play sometimes and the penalties. But other than that, I had no problem with the offensive game.
To comment more on that, 4 of our wide receivers had over 60 yards receiving. Yeah. Kamari Everett, Dylan Lee, Corey Reed, and Davino Ellington. Davino had a great game.
He had a great game. But that just shows that Jalen is spreading the ball around. It's like Larry said. They can't pinpoint one player because he throws it to anybody that's open.
Right.
That's how this offense was supposed to look. From what we saw in the spring, right? With the way that Canales wants to call the game, I think the only difference is the fact that we've alluded to not having the offensive coach, Coach Pearson, who's a tremendous teacher and technician.
Definitely. And no slack ball, for sure.
We should be getting more out of the rushing game, in that regard. So, other than that, as I said, I couldn't find fault. We protected the football pretty well. I think we had, one fumble and one interception.
Did question was asked, did Akeem Hayes play in that contest?
No.
I don't believe so. They had him listed for a tackle, but I don't think that was
he didn't play.
Rosendo Lewis.
I think he was listed for a tackle because that's one of those double numbers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's and one of the things about having to pack up on the quick and hit the road, man, is just there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that the common fan doesn't know. So, yeah, just continue to pray for our guys.
Well, yeah, anytime you take 80 to 100 teenagers on the road for 2 weeks,
right?
Good luck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, like you said, hats off, but we just got to pull it together.
Rosendo Lewis led the Wildcats with 11 tackles, 7 solo, tackle for a loss. Amari Jones finishes that contest with 10 tackles, 2 for a loss in that game. So.
That's a pretty good effort right there from Amari Jones.
It is
double digits. You're talking about the defense, but I get the bend but don't break. But when you're a smallish defense, we've got to come up with some twists, some stunts. Disguise pressure.
Right.
When we decide to bring pressure. But you just can't stand there and take those blocks on if you're small. You got to be able to get off those blocks.
Let's talk TSU, guys. Let's talk TSU.
Okay.
Going up to Nissan Stadium at a 5 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff, 6 p.m. TSU's homecoming. We know we have 5 homecomings this year, including ours. Tell me a little bit about Tennessee State. And I know what glaring thing comes to mind at first is the L they took on Saturday.
Well, they tried to steal a game by sitting 10 players who were major contributors out because they were playing against a Division II school in Lane.
Right.
Lane is no ordinary Division II school, and it's an in-state kind of game, David Goliath kind of situation.
Right.
And
we'll just overpower you and win with talent.
We'll be able to go ahead and line up and run the football, which is what they want to do in the identity of their coach. And really, Lane stood the test. Lane stuffed them for the most part and made them very one-dimensional. They could not throw the football. They're playing without their transfer quarterback who was freshman player of the year last year, Draylon Edwards, who transferred in from Austin Peay.
Right.
He got hurt in the MTSU game, Middle Tennessee State game. He has a high ankle sprain. He practiced for the first time this Tuesday. So he's still a little gimpy. He, along with their running back, Devon Starling, who is a quality running back, big-time running back, was freshman of the year for Tennessee State a couple years ago. He's been out, so he's gonna be back this weekend as well. So you get those kids back in, you get the receivers back in. Now here's the deal for me, Daryl. If Draylon Edwards, who is nicked up, who is a great passer and can run when he's healthy, if he is out of that football game, and we get the kid who started for them last week. Nothing against Chanel Garnett. He's not the passer. We've got to bring pressure on Tennessee State to make them, because they're going to line up and try to do the same thing that we just saw Alabama A&M do. So we got to bring pressure because this quarterback, the second-string quarterback, does not throw it well at all. That's exactly what Lane did to them. And even if Ellis does play, he's got a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, and we all know that.
It takes weeks to get
he's got a bad wheel, so we got to go get him. We can't let him get comfortable back there.
But see, this is my concern. And when we were talking earlier about being so conservative, I'm not quite sure this Bethune-Cookman defense thinks that way. I think they're willing to just sit back and let you come to them. And I think we'll get blown out of that game if that's what we do.
And is a lot of that because of something you saw on this past Saturday? There was a fumble.
Oh, that was the craziest play I'd ever seen.
It was quick whistle.
That's right.
They
let him pull. And
I mean, there's people coming everywhere to hit our guys, so it was still a lot of ball.
What I'm saying is that our defense is coached in a manner that I guess the word I want to use is like, don't you get too aggressive. Don't you get too aggressive. And if you watch them play, you'll see they don't get too aggressive.
What do you mean? Stay up.
Yeah, stay up.
Stay up. I'm sure we've heard that quite a few times. So,
I mean,
that's
I
that's
think
an inside thing.
the bending on break, I think that was
Right.
Yogi's not with us. He in Germany.
I think that's a truthful.
Huh?
Coach Sims says that all of the time. And look, to their credit, I saw more blitzing against Alabama A&M in the first half than I have in the entire season combined.
That's true.
I didn't see as much of that in the second half. But I think that's Coach Sims' philosophy at some time, at some point. And I get it. You can have your philosophy. I get all of that. But the trick, Larry, you say you're a teacher, and you know, it's coaching, it's teaching, and all of that. The trick to all of this is bridging the difference between who you are and who you want to be. That is the key in coaching. That's the key in teaching in life, is identifying who you want to be. We understand who you want to be, but you also got to recognize who you are. And the bridge to connect those two things is the difference between those who are great and those who are just going through life. And so we want to be bend but don't break, but you got to have the right personnel for that. You got to have, if you want to be bend but don't break, you got to have a front four who can get to the quarterback without pressure. You got to have guys who can, gap integrity and keep the defense into, mid to long third down situations and be good in the red zone. All of those things come together. But if you got a team that's running for 255 yards on you, you play against the South Carolina State team who can't throw the ball to save their life. They had one pass at the end of the game. Other than that, they couldn't throw the ball to save their life. But we let them just control the line of the scrimmage. At some point, we understand who we want to be. But you got to recognize, what's your personnel? Who are you right now? And as we get to who we want to be, there's some other things we got to do to make sure that we don't find ourselves chasing a game against a team that we are at least as good, if not better than. And that's the key. And, we know who you want to be. We get that. I get all of that. At some point, man, help those guys out. Give them a chance to be successful. Maybe your team is better being more aggressive than sitting back and not taking guys to the ground. I don't know, But what's going on right now is concerning, because Tennessee State is a whole lot better than their record indicates. They pushed Eastern Washington to the brink. They played Jackson State as tough as anybody who's played them this week. And we get the Lane score was an anomaly. But guess what's going to happen this week? It's going to be a whole lot of, do you want to tackle? And so I don't think we can too high, with two high safeties that is hanging back at 15 yards, just in case. Those guys got to be around the line of scrimmage. We got to get some hats to the ball. We got to win at the line of scrimmage. You can't win at the line of scrimmage. You got to win in layers and bring some pressure. But just sitting back and catching and watching and waiting and seeing, we trying to chase the game, man. Man.
You're spot on, Jerry. If we stand there and try to punch with a puncher, we're gonna get knocked out. Because,
you got that right.
They're bigger than we are on the offensive line. I don't know how good the offensive line is, but they want to run the football. That's their identity, and they saw us. We could be just what the doctor ordered to get well. Okay, with our defensive presence in terms of where we're playing, but we got to get after some people. And like I said, I mentioned the fact that Ellis is nicked up. If he's got a bad will, you definitely know he doesn't want to run.
No,
he doesn't want to do that. You
put
go
that
get him.
wood on him and make him. No.
Yes. Same thing with Starling being the running back. He was in a boot all week last week. Because he was nicked up. He couldn't go. So you got to test those guys.
Yeah, but we have to go in there with that mindset. Do you agree, though?
Absolutely. That's why I said earlier, that's where the coaching comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even though you're on
we can't be on the opposite side, right? Because all season long, we've been, we haven't really played with a lead yet, except midway through the third quarter against Grambling.
Right.
But let's throw the Miami game out of there. But we're chasing all game against South Carolina State. We're chasing that game. We're chasing against Grambling until halfway through the third quarter. We're chasing all game against Alabama A&M. Maybe some of this is, the offense is picking things up, seem to be putting things together. Maybe it becomes the opposite. Maybe it's you go into this game and it's like we want to play complementary football, but until we get some guys healthy and figure out, gel a little bit more on defense, maybe you have to put a little bit more of the onus on offense. And like, look, guys, we need to come out here and score some points and make Tennessee chase and force them to get away from their run game. Maybe you have to approach it that way.
Well, that's the whole thing, Jerry. You got to get any team out of their comfort zone, taking them away from what they want to do. Normally, Tennessee State has, for years, been a very balanced attack. But for some reason, this year, they've had a little more difficulty throwing the football. Not so much when Ellis is playing, but when he's been out the last two games. So we cannot allow them to get that comfortable, like I said, with a wounded quarterback back there throwing that football. Go after him. And we cannot also allow that running game to come downhill. We're not going to be able to handle that.
For Tennessee State against their opponents, Tennessee State averages 16.25 points per game, while their opponent averages 32.25. As far as first downs, total, Tennessee State has 67 on the year, while their opponents have had 88. As far as yards, rushing yards, 569 on the season, their opponents 586. Passing 663 and their opponents 1,009 yards. For total offense of this year for Tennessee State, 1,232 yards and their opponents 1,595 yards. Time of possession, Tennessee State, they average 27.48 minutes of having the ball. Their opponent 32-10. So, when you look at those stats, they've been penalized 33 times for 271 yards. Their opponents, 22 of 194. Miraculously, coming out of this game, the Alabama A&M game, we were penalized less than them. While it didn't seem like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at the stats though, and if Jalen can have a game anywhere near he had Saturday, we ought to be able to get what we want in the passing game.
Right.
Because they give
protection.
up a lot. Yeah, they give up a lot of passing yards.
Yes, they do.
But they're going to blitz us because they see our problems at offensive line.
Right.
You can believe that they're going to come. Now,
they're putting their best lineman on probably the right side.
Which means we're going to have to really use, our screen game a little bit, our quick game, and get the football out.
That was definitely said in our chat forum here on Facebook. So,
yeah. So I got a question for you guys. How many of you guys thought coming into this is just a strange statement, right? That Bethune Cookman and Tennessee State have become the get right games. The other teams are looking at Tennessee State and Bethune Cookman and say, "Oh, we got them this week." That's the week we can maybe. Alabama A&M were winless until we played them.
I know.
But to their mind, they had Bethune Cookman coming. They use it as a get right game. Tennessee State is not just 0-5 this year; they're 0 for their last 7. They're on a 7-game losing streak, and one of those is to a Division II team. So Bethune Cookman, Tennessee State. Somebody's going to exit this game as the get-right team, and the other team's going to get right on the expense of the other ones. And that's just that's a strange statement for me.
For us, it is.
Well, yeah, Jerry, I had the same thought coming into the program tonight that, this is a make-or-break game. The get-right game, you're at the halfway point of the season, and both of these teams are certainly in search of a win. In the worst way, Tennessee State probably more than us. But we both need it really bad.
Right.
So
right.
I can only hearken to think what might happen if they lose to us up on homecoming. The honeymoon is already over for Eddie George right now. They were saying that last week because a lot of their fans could not stomach a loss to Lane no matter what. One fan wrote, no matter what Eddie George does his whole time at TSU, he will be known as the coach who coached the team that lost to Lane College.
Lane
That's how bad they feel about this. This stuff is real serious. So
Hey, Coach White used to call it dream killers and hope breakers.
that's it. That's it. So, but it's right there because either one of these ball clubs is there for the taking. It really is. So, it'll be a game worth tuning into because you might expect any and everything in this game.
Right, definitely. That'll take us into our Alpha One staffing BCU versus Tennessee State game plan. Big shout out to the persons over there at Alpha One Staffing, Ms. Harris, BCU alum. They're currently doing what they can to help out with disaster recovery and things of that nature. If you're looking for employment, go to alpha1staffing.com. Plenty of opportunities throughout the state of Florida. That's alpha1staffing.com. Guys, I know we've talked a little bit about game plan, but let's go into the heart of it. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Let's go detail what we need to do to come out victorious.
Two players, to me, are critical in this football game. We hope that Jalen will play a good quarterback game for us, but we have got to get the football into Marcus Riley and Quayshawn Burns' hands. Those are players who can take it to the house and change the game instantly. We've got to find a way, because we're going to get pressure from Tennessee State. I know that. We got to find a way to hit some home runs with those two guys.
See, for me, though, I agree with Larry, but I also think that we got to get the offensive line to play like they played in the second half against Grambling, because I think that's the key to us. Because we already know going in, if we don't score 40 points, we aren't going to win. We got to score at least 40 to win.
I totally agree with that. That's the magic number. And that might not be enough, but we're going to definitely need 40.
Well, it seems like their opponents have scored 30-something points and held them to 16. But our defense?
You got to remember who they played now.
Yeah, right.
The two people who drove those numbers up are Eastern Washington and Middle Tennessee State,
right,
which, by the way, beat Miami. Okay,
after 1.5.
Right.
See, that's why statistics they make you out of life.
Oh yeah.
Because theoretically, us going into Tennessee is going to be a cakewalk. Of course, we all know it's not going to be. Right. If you look at statistics, it's a cakewalk.
Yeah, I tell you this. You talk about game plans. We had 24 rushes last week, but Jalen Jones accounted for 14 of those, and most of those were not scheduled quarterback runs. Those weren't zone reads, that sort of thing. Most of those were, runs that count because the quarterback gets sacked. That counts as or just scrambling and rushing up the field. So that means at maximum, you only had 10 called runs to your running back. 10 called running plays to your running back. Look, I don't care if your running back gets 2 yards a pop. I don't care if they get 1.5 yards a pop. You got to at least commit enough to the run game to keep the defense honest. And even if those guys are, we expect a lot of pressure from Tennessee State. They might bring pressure. That's fine. You can run. Sometimes you just got to make a commitment that we're going to call a certain number of snaps to run the ball, because at some point the defense starts flowing, and if we're expecting a lot of man coverage, I think we have enough quality receivers. Daryl Powell, Kamari Averett. We talked about Marcus Riley. We got enough guys that can.
Yeah.
Corey Reed, Darlin Lee. We have a bunch of guys who can make plays in space, and so at some point. But if the defense know the pass is coming and that sort of thing, you still got to go out and win. I mean, you're on scholarship for a reason. But I do think that some of this is that you can get so much in a rhythm of this is going on, and man, we're gonna have to at least make a concerted effort to try to run the ball enough just to make the defense think twice about what they're doing, and hopefully that leads to more explosive plays rather in the run game or pass game. But when you're just dropping back, just trying to sling it around, 50-something times, and
You're right, Jerry. You have to have a threat of the run to be balanced. I mean, and you don't want to give up on it. Literally, particularly with the RPO game. That's the beauty of the RPO game. We got a mobile quarterback. We know he's not a statue, but we still have to show the threat of handing that football to your back when you're in 11 personnel.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. What do we need to do on the defensive side of the ball to stimmy their
Get the defender on the ground. Listen, I have a pet peeve, and I see this. I can't stand this. You guys, Dale, you sit next to me to the games. I'm always saying, squeeze.
Right.
You'll see guys are there. Sometimes they're in a position to make a play, but they don't finish. They just don't. No. And I don't.
You got to fit up and drive. Got to fit up and drive.
Right.
But don't you have to practice
They don't drive. Go ahead.
What do you mean by that, Ralph?
You're saying you want to squeeze and you want to drive, but don't you have to practice that?
Yeah. So
Right.
I don't know where we went, like, to where we're playing, finesse football, as Jerry was saying earlier. As I also said earlier, when, you adapted the SWAC technique, which is throwing the ball. It's not hard to get a wide receiver down, but now the SWAC teams are running big backs at you. You got to take those legs out. You got to tackle. You got to, bring everything with you. Everything you ate, you got to bring with you. All the strength you built in the weight room.
But don't you have to practice that?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, this has been going on for several years, and so let's just look. Let's just a little bit of history. Yeah, but when the NCAA were peeking in and seeing what we were doing at Bethune Cookman, a few years back, some of what they were looking at was our contact. We were the allegation was we were doing too much contact. Past 20 hours, and contact drills were going past what the NCAA recommended. Well, I do know that at some point the NCAA started looking around. You're like, all right, let's just make sure we clean. Maybe we go and some of that is just making sure you toe in the line. Sometimes you kind of go the opposite way. We want to make sure that we're clean, and you kind of get into some bad habits. I think that's what happened. I think we just got into some bad habits. We wanted to make sure that when the NCAA looked, we were like, hey, we're good over here. There's nothing to worry about. And so we adopted some bad habits, and we've been practicing bad habits now for a couple of years because, again, whether you listen to our head coach, said we got to finish. He's been saying this. Or you watch the game with your own eyes. What you do see is we have had a bad problem. We got the whole field, but the guys won't disengage and get the guy on the ground. Guys go and pop a guy, but they won't put him on the ground. I think we've just got in the pattern of bad habits because, Uncle NCAA started looking at us, and then we just never got out of it. We got to figure out a way to break out of that.
See, my point is this. We practice all week long not being aggressive, and then on the weekend, we expect the guys to be aggressive.
You can't do it. It's not.
We're not that good where we can turn it on and turn it off like that.
Nobody is.
No.
In football, nobody is. Not just us.
It's
a physical game. You got to touch somebody.
Okay. Like Jerry's saying, Bethune has always been a smash mouth team, and now people are smashing us in the mouth.
Bad.
And they don't. They're getting to the point where they don't respect us because we aren't tough enough. But one thing I would like to see, though, I'm gonna just change the subject here for a second. One change I'd like to see them make Saturday is take Coach Hayes and put him on the field and put Coach Lane up in that box.
Why do you want to see that, Ralph?
Because I think Coach Lane would look at it more pacifically and make the right call, and he don't get so emotionally involved in what just happened. He's looking at the play and then analyzing it and then making recommendations. I think Coach Hayes gets so involved that he forget that he's supposed to be analyzing and sending it down to the guys on the field on what adjustments they need to make.
I can go with you a little bit on that, but if they're running the same play at you and you can't tackle them, it don't matter what adjustments you make.
Again, that's why he's so excited.
You know, that's one thing.
I'm gonna change it a little bit and go to an area where I think we might have a real advantage, and that's in the special teams game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do we do?
Yeah, I think we have a chance, as we've showed against Grambling, to be very explosive in the kick return game, and I really think that we need to get a touchdown if we can out of this game in our kick return situation. So if we can win the special teams game, we're surprised we had that blocked field goal. I know sometimes we kick it a little low, but up until that point we were pretty good. So we need, but field goals I don't think are gonna win this game.
Another thing that I see a lot, and I say it to Ralph. Man, we have to block on kickoff return. Man, I see,
it's like the floodgates.
You watch your guy get tackled. It's
like they let you go by and then turn around. If you get by them, now we'll block something.
Right, yeah.
That goes back to contact.
Yeah, it does. It does.
That goes back to contact again. See, you guys brought it up again. Contact.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance, right? When you get 20 hours of practice and the NCAA trying to, because of concussion protocols and all that, you got to figure it out, though. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I say this. I think we all agree we don't have the right balance.
No.
Because, and again, to the point, it's like, if you just run past me because you're better than me and you throw the ball around, I'm like, all right, I can't get faster. Man, right. I just can't handle just being outmanned. I just can't handle that. I just don't like Bethune Cookman being bullied. I don't like that. That bothers me. And so I'm like, if they just beat us because they beat us, I can handle that. But even with Bethune Cookman, even if you beat Bethune Cookman in the past, you knew you were in a fight. And I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like people walk in, they walk away, their lips not bloody, their knees don't hurt. That's a problem. I mean, that's not the identity of this program. And at some point, even if you lose, man, go fight somebody. And a good fight in the game, because one of the things that made me mad about the last game is when the game was over at the end, then they wanted to physically get in the fight. I'm like, you had 60 minutes to go out there and fight these boys.
Right, you got that right.
And you let the running back run for 190-something yards, and now you had every opportunity for you to fight with helmets and shoulder pads. And now when the game over, you want to be thugs. Come on, man.
Well, the other part, defensively, I know we've been playing that Tampa 2 deep high safety. We got to bring a safety down in the box.
Right.
Because really our cornerbacks have held up pretty well.
They
have.
Yeah, we've not been hurt like that. I'd rather take my chances having that extra guy down.
Right, roll him down, yes.
And play with one safety over the top and live with the two corners we have on the outside.
Before we go to our call-in session, what happened to the stunts, twists,
We're out.
That's important.
That went away back in 2013 for us.
Pretty much.
That's just not our philosophy. And I get it. Look, listen, it's just not our philosophy. We don't do that. And again, some of it is sometimes you twist and spin and run yourself out of a play. I get that. And so it doesn't matter. Whatever scheme you run is the scheme you run. And it's like, every coach has a reason why they do what they do. Whatever you do, though, has to be effective. And if what you're doing isn't effective, you got to do something else. You can't just sit there and just hope it's going to happen. And so, even though we don't stunt and twist and we don't slant and we don't do any of that, at some point, if we get now behind B at the line of scrimmage, help your guys out. If you're undersized, help them out. We don't like to blitz a lot, but if we're not winning with two deep safeties, then bring another guy in the box. And so at least vary it. You can't just line up in the same thing every time. Make the other guys think a little bit.
Yeah, we don't have that right now.
And when you're small, you can slant. You always want to have gap integrity, but there's a whole lot. You're just not going to stand there as a smaller guy and be able to take on that big guard, that tackle coming at you.
Right.
You got to use your quickness to disrupt what they're doing.
And I've seen some of our big guys take some stuff.
And it's not pretty.
No,
Okay.
no. 386-868-3411. 386-868-3411. We're talking Wildcat football. It's now time for our Hill Wildcats live call-in segment. Call in. Talk to the armchair quarterbacks. Let's talk Wildcat football. 386-868-3411. When does the light turn on and the aggression just come out of you naturally? Are you too scared that you're going to get in trouble, that you get MAs, which is missed assignments, things of that nature, that you won't be overly, I'm not saying being overly aggressive, but make your presence known?
Hit somebody in the mouth.
Right.
Yeah, and see, right, Jerry. But see, I think, and we've talked about this before, when you're playing not to make mistakes, you make a lot of mistakes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Football wasn't really meant, theoretically, to be a thinking game.
No. Gladiator.
Football is whoever's the strongest and the fastest, they usually win.
When you're swinging the battle axe, are you I got to swing it this high to make contact. But no, I'm swinging it.
I mean, even last year when we were playing, I swear I thought we were going to win every game. I went in there with that mindset that we were going to win this game. And I knew we were undermanned, but I thought we had a chance. This year, I said we got the players, but for some reason I don't go in there with that same mindset.
Same mentality.
You know?
Caller, you're on the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show. Welcome.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Brandon Jackson, Palm Beach. How you all doing tonight?
Good, sir. Good. How about yourself?
Thank God for being alive, and thank God that you all was able to weather the storm.
Thank you very much.
I'm hoping and praying that, our coaches, our football team have the mindset they want to win, because if you want to win, in order to be a winner, you got to go out there and play like you want to win.
That's
you
right.
You have to have the mindset that you're going to win. You can't go out there and football is a very contact sport. It's a very physical sport. Either you're going to beat me, I'm going to beat you, but I ain't going to just let you just run over me. I'm going to let you know I'm out there on the field just like you are.
Definitely. If you want to be the man, you got to do what? You got to beat the man. Yes. Yes.
You got to beat the man. So hopefully, I hope we show up. My church headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee. So it'd be nice if our team could get a victory. So when I go out there to my General Assembly in July, say, "Hey, we beat them Tigers."
Definitely so. Definitely so.
But real quick, how does the campus look after all this done happened? How does the campus look right now?
It's still a work in progress. They're furiously working over there to get it back right, but it's still some work to be done over there. Still some work to be done.
So do you foresee the school opening next week for the students?
I can't answer that. I wish I could, but yeah.
I've not heard anything that indicates that we're going to be able to start on next Monday, anything like that. So a few down trees on the south side of the campus, behind the PAC Center, but they're not in harm's way of damaging anybody's access to buildings. But just aesthetically, those got to be cleaned up a little bit. Don't know how much water damage the college actually took on in the building.
Right. I don't think it was much.
I don't think it was that much.
It's got a lot of standing water.
Yeah. Like the middle of campus and things of that nature. So.
But there's a chance we might get back maybe middle of next week or toward the end of next week.
That would be nice. We just have to keep praying, and things happen for a purpose and a reason. But thank God for life, and thank God that they were able to evacuate. During the time they was, and just thank God we have to keep praying.
Definitely so.
I totally agree, and I 100% agree with the administration. Making that call early,
definitely,
and not late.
Because when they made that call, that storm was West Coast all the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
They didn't. They erred on the side of caution, which is what I think you have to do.
You have to.
So kudos to them for making that call.
Definitely so.
Yeah, kudos. And also, I missed my classmate tonight, y'all.
Yeah, he will hopefully be back.
He's looking for Diesel.
So we're going to put a donation link up here shortly, and if you want to donate, $2 will be enough.
But anyhow, y'all have a nice evening. And hopefully, I'll talk with y'all next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And hail Wildcats.
Hail Wildcats.
Yes, sir. Good night. 386-868-3411. 386-868-3411. Caller, you're on the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, mine is going to be short and sweet.
Okay.
The sit back and wait defense is timeouts. That's over with now. You know, I'd rather see us, if we're going to go down, let's go down fighting. You know, put some pressure. Blitzes, stunts, twists. You know, drop your linebackers back in the zone situation. You know, play man to man on strong side, play zone on the weak side. You know, I mean, you got to give them a different look.
Definitely so. Definitely. We definitely have to do that.
No,
now we're in conference play, so it's you got to do it. You have to do it.
I mean, this is these first 5 games of the season. That is Bethune Cookman season.
Right.
You know, count this game and then Jackson State next week. That's our season. And I think that this week practice should be nothing but fundamentals. Learning how to get off the blocks, because our guys are standing there and fight the whole game, and the running back will run a foot from them.
Definitely so.
So I mean, I don't know. You know, I've heard you guys talk about what needs to be done. When all else fails, you always fall back on your fundamentals. Simple as that.
Fundamentals. That's what does it. Hail Wildcats. Let's go. Hopefully we get this win up there in Tennessee State. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, sir. Yes,
we
sir.
look forward to hearing from you next week. Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Go ahead.
We should mention this, fellas. Here's the thing. The truth is that the whole season is still. I say this, it's like it's not time to panic, but should be worried a little bit. But here's the reason why it's not time to panic. The whole season, all your goals are still in front of you. Really, I mean, we 1-1 in conference. Even if we don't beat Tennessee State, I think you have to in order to keep that momentum. But you still got everything to play for. You still have everything to play for. You still have the opportunity to play for a chance to represent the East in the SWAC championship game, and then that goes the way you want. So now that's way down the road. But the season is not over yet. You got to go and you got to start climbing this mountain. You start knocking them off one at a time. It starts with Tennessee State as your get right game, and then maybe you shock the world a week after that.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Definitely so. Hill Wildcats, you're on the X's and O's show.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Welcome, caller. You're on the X's and O's show.
Hey, this is Willie Jenkins. How you doing, Mr. Dale?
Good. How about yourself? Good to hear from you, Willie.
I'm doing really good.
Yes, sir. Definitely so.
So the hurricane didn't blow you guys away, did it?
No. We don't let the hurricane blow us away, and we're blessed to be here and be able to come back and be on for you guys, for all the Wildcat fans tonight.
Oh, okay. So, well, first of all, I gotta tell Ralph that, hey, I went against his pick against Grounding, and he was right. I was surprised about it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, he mentioned that a couple of times.
But I was fortunate enough to watch the game. I would have went. But
we understand.
Everything was different for me.
Gotcha.
I heard you guys about this week game, and the coach went for 2, and that kind of like changed the tone of the game.
It does something when you don't get it. You know, you're kind of riding on the high. You're already, you know, we go in at halftime 14-14, and then they come back out, drive the ball down the field, and you come down and, you know, have a chance to tie it right back up, and then, like, now we're behind again. And, you know, they didn't look back after that. So
now, if you guys remember, when we were playing South Carolina State, the score was 20-9.
Yes.
And we had the momentum and we scored. It was 29. We went for 2. I don't even know why we went for 2. But that kind of like took a sail out the team, and then the score ended up being 33-9. So, you know, I'm saying, wait a minute. This kind of like hurts your momentum when you do things like that.
Right.
So,
it does.
I don't know the thought process behind it, but, you know, I'm just a fan, so I really don't know.
Willie, you played the game and you played the game. You played up under a coach that I know and you know who would walk into the locker room or wherever and write a number on the board. That's what he wanted that night. He put 50 up on the board, and I want 50. You know how that was. We didn't have a fragile team. We knew what the deal was every time we went out there, because when y'all came back to practice the next week, if it didn't go right, you knew what was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen the next week. So that's why I said earlier, Willie, we're dealing with, you know, we had a football team back in the day when you were there that was physical. We expected to win the whole 9 yards. Those little psychological things didn't matter to us, because all we were concerned about was the elephant in the room, which was Charles Wesley Moore. Had to deal with him. Now, this ball club we got right now, the kids today, the simplest little thing, getting 1 point, staying on schedule versus not getting that point. That's really psychological to these types of teams today. And our kids have been fighting uphill all year long. But when you look over there and see that score tied 21-21 versus 20-21, it makes a big difference with this group of kids. It really does. Might seem like it wouldn't, but it does.
I think Willie, you still there? We lost him. Hopefully we'll get him back. But yeah, it does. It makes a difference. It makes a difference.
So you have to coach all the way through it, every phase, Daryl. And the trick for us, can we get the game into the fourth quarter where we have a chance to really win, being even or ahead? That's what we did so well against Grambling.
Yeah.
We fought from behind, took the lead, then we got Grambling to make mistakes, and we closed the game out. That's the formula for us winning.
So let's play devil's advocate, if you will, right? If you're as far as the 2-point conversion play, if you're going to run the swinging gate, if you're going to do that, then you got to be committed to it. I will say that, you know, and so they lined up in that, you know, a little swinging gate formation, and if you're going to be committed to that throughout the season, if you get the look you want, you go for it. Otherwise, don't even line up in it. I mean, that's kind of what you have to commit to. But as long as they're going to run it, and you go out and you count numbers and you think you have the numbers, then you have to run it. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. So, you know, if you see them come out and line up in it, you know, going forward for the rest of the year, then they are telling you that we trust that we can get an extra point because we think that what we, you know, our numbers and our athletes say that we can convert it. Otherwise, you just line up and kick the field goal. So I will say that. I mean, they made a commitment to do this because we want to insert this level of aggression. Then that works. Now you need your players to back you up. If you get it, great. If you don't, then it needs to be that, listen, we put this confidence in you because we think that you can go out and stop them too. So, you know, it all works together, you know, but if you're going to be committed to it, then be committed to it. And but if otherwise, like, you know, I can't trust them to do that, then just line up and kick the field goal, take it one.
Very familiar voice on the line. Welcome to the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show, Coach Sims. Good afternoon, sir. Hello. Good evening. Yes, sir. How's it going?
Good. It's going good.
Good, Coach. Great to hear from you. We've been back this way, supporting the team and doing all we can. We know you guys have been displaced for a while. Tell us how it's going up in Tennessee.
Going good. Our administration is really doing a great job supporting us and giving us the things we need to make sure that, this whole travel party is taken care of and that we have the things that we need. So we're making it as close to home and as comfortable as we can for them. And I think it's working out. Everybody seems to still be in great spirits and still ready to go out and compete and make our fans proud.
That's great, Coach. That's great, and we're glad to see that. It was really good seeing you guys on this past Saturday, and looking forward to seeing you guys on this Saturday up in Tennessee. Jerry, I know you had some questions about how things have been going, the transition and the travel and everything for Coach Sims. If you want to take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Just, if you could, just give us an idea of, what it's like logistically to move that number of people, and it's not like you had a week or two to plan. You kind of get a notice from the administration that the campus is going to be closing, basically after the game on that Saturday against Grambling, and then you hit the road, and you're moving dozens and dozens of people. Can you kind of let us know logistically, how many places you've been since you last left Daytona and what the logistics look like?
Well, it was not as short a notice as some people are saying. We moved this number of people a lot, and we made a decision with our administration 2 Fridays ago, and we made a decision that on Tuesday we would get the whole travel party out of town so we wouldn't be held up by the storm. We have our deputy AD, Mr. George Bright. He's actually with us. He's been with us since Tuesday. He traveled with us, and he's been moving along with the whole travel party. So it's not easy, but it takes some all night planning, sitting down, because you are moving a lot of people, and I'm responsible for a whole lot of folks right now, and a whole lot of people's children. So we have to make sure that we're doing the right things to keep them safe, and making sure that number one, aside from safety, they're still able to do their schoolwork, which we have study hall set aside at night. We have a few hours during the day where they can sit down. We have computers available for them to still do their work, because the university did go virtual for this time, to make sure they can still stay up on their studies. We have to meet, we have to practice, we have to eat, and we have gotten nothing but support. When we were in Chattanooga, Brainerd High School, they did a great job of hosting us for meetings, and when we had to practice there, we had an opportunity to lift and do all those things. And once we got back to Nashville, I got to Nashville rather after the game, we were practicing and lifting over at Vanderbilt, and we were eating at Lipscomb University. So we have people that are working with us, and just trying to do what they can for us. And again, it's big, and we thank them for that. And our administration has been on top of it from day one, and they're hanging in with us and in contact with us a few times a day to make sure that we're still moving along and have the things that we need.
That's great, Coach.
Have you watched your guys, recognize, obviously, we sit around, us talking heads, and, think we know a little bit of something that we don't know much about in football. But, how has it been watching these young men, these teenagers, early 20-somethings, just the life lessons of how sometimes there's just things that happen that you can't predict, that you deal with it the best that you can. How have they been handling this, and have you seen any, lights go off in their eyes saying that, life sometimes is just like this? Have you been able to witness that, and can you kind of explain any of that that's going on behind the scenes?
Well, yeah, I mean, you see it every day because you got to think you have this many young people in there toward the better part of the day outside of practicing and lifting and going to eat. They're stuck in a hotel, and those times are either taken up with meeting, study hall, classwork, or sleeping. So you get to see a lot with these young folks, and it's just not just football players. Our video staff, our trainers, our equipment managers, our operations staff. We have a lot of young people with us, and I can't say enough about them. I'm proud of all of them because you just see resilience when you look at them. Because no one is, broken down, and no one has walked off or had a breakdown. It's just a lot of folks picking each other up because it's easy for you to, kind of get down, being away this long, and a lot of them maybe have not been away from home like this ever. So it's tough, but they continue to support each other, which is great. And I think we're learning a lot of life lessons, and we're learning a lot about each other through this.
That's great, Coach.
That was going to be one of my last questions is, have you learned anything about your team as a whole that, maybe some things about some players that you kind of didn't really know, or you got a chance to see some leadership out of some people that you didn't expect out of these moments? Have you learned anything new about your team or anything that you care to share with the rest of Wildcat Nation?
Well, I think, the leaders are the leaders, and those are the guys that have been, out front every day and, not allowing this group to get lax or to lose focus, because it's tough on us adults. So I can only imagine, but we have a great group of guys that, I don't even really mess with them about, their leadership meetings. They have had 3 or 4 of them without any of us around. In the middle of the day or at night, right before curfew, they all get together. And, that's something that I'm proud of. And, I let them keep that to themselves because practices have been good. They've had a lot of energy running around. Lifting has been good. They've been attending meetings. So, I think what I have learned about our guys is that they will continue to fight. They'll continue to stay together. And they'll continue to play this game for and with each other. And that's something that you always want. We have actually seen it unfold in front of our eyes these last couple of weeks.
That's great, Coach. And have a lot of supporters back this way praying for you guys. And like I said earlier, you'll see quite a few guys or quite a few fans up in Tennessee to support you guys. It's been a while since they've seen you, so they're ready to see you.
Y'all better make sure y'all bring some jackets.
Yeah, we heard, Coach. We heard. I got your 2 favorite buddies here in the studio with me. So, guys, you got anything for Coach Sims?
Coach, I just wanted to ask, how's the health of the team as far as physical health? Any injuries or updates, anything like that about anybody nicked up last week, or you lose anybody, or pretty good?
No, not really losing anybody. I think, going into the 5th game of the season, it's just, the bumps and bruises that you have. You have twisted ankles and, little confusions here and there, but I don't think it's anything that'll stop guys from playing.
Okay, yeah, that was the
Hey, Coach, my question is, what would you like for the Wildcat faithful to know, and what would you like for us to do for you, or what you expect from us?
I honestly I want just what we had last Saturday. Just support people out, cheering for these young men because they are working every day. And, they're not giving up. They're not, taking anything for granted. They're showing up every day to work and trying to win football games for our university and for our fans.
Definitely so.
Thank you.
Definitely so. Well, Coach, we know you got 1,000,001 things to do. You guys just got out of practice. We thank you for calling in to the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show. And as I said, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday and celebrating a good Wildcat victory with you. So take care. God bless you, Coach.
Stay warm.
Yeah,
stay warm.
Definitely stay warm. I'll have Larry bring you some fish or something up there.
That'll work.
Well, thanks, Coach. Give our regards to all the coaches and the players. And as I said, we look forward to seeing you guys. You guys be safe and be blessed.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Guys.
Thank you.
Have a good
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach.
All right.
All right. Well, you had it from the skipper himself, Coach Terry Sims. Thank him for calling into the X's and O's show. Like I said, I know they just got out of practice, but definitely a man of his word that, he wanted to let the faithful hear his voice and know they were A-OK. So.
It's always said, it's still said a lot with Southern teams. I'm always afraid when we have to go play in cold climates.
Yes, indeed.
Because it's human nature, the acclimation of the body. Now, it's a 5 o'clock kickoff their time. It'll be dark up there by 5 o'clock.
39 degrees Saturday night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
It's gonna be 39 degrees.
39 degrees.
That's a major shift.
When he said bring your coat, he meant that.
Yeah.
He definitely meant that. So, I know the Let's Go Wildcat faithful are preparing for that trip. And, whoever we will, bring your coat. Bring your coat. Let's get ready to play.
And listening to him, if you could imagine taking your kids on vacation.
I was just about to say.
Well, he got 100 of those things.
Probably without jackets.
Without jackets.
Without jackets, exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't have the proper clothing, exactly. That was my point precisely, and then you're playing a football game for the first time in cooler climates, and it's different if you're playing in the daytime where you get some of that sun heat, but now you're in nighttime and you're in that cavernous Titan Stadium, NFL Stadium, and that wind does whip around in there. It whips around big time.
I know, I think it was earlier last year, myself and Coach Darold Brown were up there coaching in the offense-defense all-star game. It was cold as it could be, and we had little mighty mites up there.
It's nothing to play with up there.
Wow.
I guess if there's a good thing, though, that they've been there for almost 2 weeks, so they're going to be as acclimated as they would ever be.
Yeah. The weather was great.
But again, go back to Ralph's point. I can't imagine being up there with. I mean, you had almost Coach Sim said to some degree. Now, he's like, kind of, I let the leaders kind of lead, and I don't kind of do their thing. Some of it, the man's probably just like, I just need a timeout.
Pretty much, because you got 100 some other people chilling.
Yeah, there's 4 buses each way. Yes.
I can tell you
with everyday life.
I can tell you, having traveled with them firsthand for a number of years, boy, that's a heavy duty thing when you're going to play a game and something happens where you have to extend your stay. And in this case, theirs is morphed into 2 weeks. And when we played at Seymour out at southeastern Louisiana, we flew out, got there early, and went to play Southeastern, which was probably about 60 miles away. Came back to Baton Rouge. We won the game, so that makes it better when you win.
Yeah. And
we were still displaced for another 3 days before we got back.
Able to come back in.
Yeah. So it's tough. Now I didn't have any practices. All I did was sit around and eat, and order my own food and what have you. But it was tough. It was really tough dealing with that as well. I had a job, so I had to be going on things going on with your job. But man, it's we need something good to happen.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
Team. We really
definitely.
do.
But doesn't it seem like human nature, though, that this type of thing, just around sports, and that you won't see whatever you see on the field on Saturday for Bethune Cookman, it won't be the same as last week. It'll be a market improvement, or we'll go the opposite way. It's just with this type of displacement, this type of adversity, you either see a team that really, really come together, I think, and, you know, kind of go out and just look, you know, a bunch of guys playing for each other because of that extended bonding, or guys that just can't get it into gear. I just, it's hard to imagine that you just see normalcy, because these are abnormal times.
Jerry, one of the major things that I can attest to from the times being with the teams in situations like this, and I don't know that I can't speak about it today because there's a totally new infrastructure in athletics. But I can tell you this, in those times when we were displaced, we'd have various speakers come in to talk to those kids, right? To pump them up. I remember Lynn would have me coming in. Lynn would be talking. Harold Lucas would be there. We would, you know, it became, it was surreal because we were talking to those kids about the pride of Bethune Cookman and the founder and what Miss Bethune. And I don't know that there's that there now. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying I don't know that that's there. But I know that those were the things that we used to provide for them. And the kids fed into that really, really well.
And to carry on what you're saying, it's just like, you know, Bethune Cookman was started on struggle.
Oh, yeah.
It was started on struggle. Yeah. So, you know, how many ever years later, it's the same thing. And, you know, it's lasted this long. So.
I can remember we were flying to play Norfolk State in Norfolk the year we were 0-5.
Okay.
We didn't have a hurricane.
Right.
We were just 0-5.
Just right.
And at 40,000 feet in the plane, I'm sitting over by the window reading something relative to work, and Lynn leans over to me and says, I need you to give a talk this evening to the football team after dinner. Now I got to change my whole train of thought about what I'm doing to think about what I can say to inspire these kids who've not won a game. And those kids went out, not necessarily because I said anything to them, but they went out and won that game and beat Norfolk State, and we ended up winning 4 or 5 games that year after being 0-5. So having those voices, those extra voices, that means so much to those kids.
You never know when that extra push is
it's right there.
Right. I mean, you're in Alabama on someone else's homecoming, and it might be 50 fans, you know, in maroon and gold up there in the stands, but what those guys do when we start rallying, they turn around to the little bit of fans. And we even had, Jonesboro High School band there with us, you know, 130 strong, but you know, we came out. We lost that game, but there was a lot of momentum. They knew we were there to support them, and you know, the same thing this weekend. We got to keep on doing it, no matter what. We got to keep on doing it.
But you know, one of the things that I picked up in Coach's conversation, he said they've had 2 team meetings where the coaches wasn't there, which tells me someone or a number of someones have decided that we need to get this together.
Right.
Which that's critical, really.
It is. It's very critical.
Because if somebody's saying, guys, we got to turn this around, that's a starting point there. I think we'll see that Saturday.
We heard some echoes of that after the game, you know. Self-responsibilities, you know. Yeah. So.
You find strength in adversity.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Numbers, and so that's what a team is about.
Yes,
how you rally around in those situations that where things look all against you, bleak times, that you find a way. You know, which is again back to the founding of this college. That's what it's. What it's built on.
Yes. I mean those guys can rally a whole city.
Oh yeah.
You know, not just a whole city. I mean, if you got Cookman blood, because some of us, you know, with whatever happened on campus or what have you, it affects everyone who has maroon and gold in their blood. So you know, it truly does. It truly does.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that if you live in the Atlanta area, if you live in the Chattanooga area, if you live in northern Alabama, if you live in parts of Arkansas and you got Wildcat blood, you need to travel over to Nashville.
Not just that.
With a jacket.
If you're in Florida, there's a bus going up to Tennessee State. You can hop on that bus and go up there. Get out of town. You know, get out of town, take a break,
With a jacket.
With a jacket or a coat.
What do y'all leave there? What's that?
Saturday morning at 4 a.m. from the Home Depot here in Daytona. So Saturday morning, 4 a.m. from the Home Depot.
Saturday morning. That's tomorrow night, 4 a.m.
Yes.
So
Tomorrow
now,
night
who are y'all?
Ralph. Hopefully Larry.
You said y'all.
Listen, man. I've been on the
She's
fence
gonna make
about
sure.
this, so I might have to. I've been on the fence about this. My wife's been telling me all week, we need to go. And I was like, I got stuff. You want me to skip church, and I've been in this car accident in my back, and I just heard after Coach Sims. I'm like, you know what? I might have to tell the Lord to meet me in Tennessee.
You might have to say a word, man.
I may have to wake up and do morning prayer with Ralph. That's gonna be something.
All right, Jared. Easy.
Definitely so, man. Definitely so. It's just I would love to see as many Wildcat fans. I know there will be people coming from the Atlanta, Tennessee areas and all the surrounding areas and Florida. We have a decent number of people on the bus, and we still have room for everyone. So come and join us. Hop on this trip. Let's support our Wildcats before they come back home on next Saturday against Jackson State. We got to take care of Tennessee State first. And win that contest. If you're interested in going on that trip, let's go wildcats.org/fan bus to TSU. That's let's go wildcats.org fan bus to TSU. Guys, closing words before we get out of here. I'll let you take it away, Jerry.
Like I said earlier, this is the get right game for somebody, either Tennessee State or Bethune Cookman, and may as well be the good guys. I really want to see us go out and show well, and so I really don't know. There's so much going on. I really don't know what to expect at all. I will say this: I think this game will either be we're going to play our best game of the season, or we're going to play. We're gonna have a hard time getting out of here. I believe that. I think we'll have one extreme or the other. It'll be a really impressive win, or dealing with the after effects of the storm. And so I really don't know which way to go with that. I know which way I'm hoping and leaning. And so I just really like to see our guys come out, play hard, get this win, come back, rally themselves, and prepare for the rest of the SWAC season.
Definitely so.
Well, this is what I say. I totally agree with you, Jerry, but I'm saying the mountain is high, and we got a lot of obstacles to overcome. But I think collectively, we can overcome these obstacles. We can get on top of the mountain, but we got to get up there together, and that's what I'm looking forward for us to come together, take care of the obstacles, and win this game.
Definitely so. Who will ascend to the top of the mountain?
Who will ascend to the top?
I have been known for years on the radio broadcast to talk about games that Mrs. Bethune would show up to attend. And people would think I was crazy. But I'm certainly hopeful that this is one of those football games that the presence and the spirit of Mary McLeod Bethune makes an appearance, as I saw it do a few years ago in that very same stadium.
Yes.
When Bethune-Cookman knocked off a highly ranked
Tennessee State. Yes.
Yeah. So, in a great football game, and I really hope and pray that is on display Saturday night. I'm not trying to turn this into a prayer vigilance. I'm just saying I believe in the spirit of Mary McLeod Bethune.
Definitely. And
what she stands for. And maybe this is one of those moments where these student athletes will really get a chance to know that something good will happen to them if they put the effort in to make it happen. And so that's what I'm hopeful for, that they will play the best game that they've played this year. Like Jerry said, it can go either way. I really believe that it's that kind of pendulum swing in this football game because it is such a get right type of football
Definitely.
game. So I'm just hopeful that something positive happens to this college this week. We've been through a hurricane that we survived through, delayed our opening the campus back, but what
we can make it.
What a healing source it would be to get a victory, and to come back and start school back up after the storm.
Definitely so. So. Real quick, we want to bless the football team as they do travel back to Florida next week. If you look in our comment link, there is a link to donate towards the football team's team meal for next Saturday as we face Jackson State. Not, as I said, jumping the gun, but if you would like to donate to the football team, all of the monies will go towards their team meal for next week. Welcome them back home. That link is on our Facebook pages. Let's Go Wildcats fan trips, Hail Wildcats X's and O's show, and Hail Wildcats fan group. So click on that link, donate whatever you can. Nothing is too small. We're asking, let's bless our guys. Let's help them out. Let's help offset some costs that we know they have had to definitely spend. So Daytona, all surrounding areas, we're praying for you. We're keeping you in our prayers. We're resilient. We will continue to make it, and we're here for you. Continue to support the Wildcats. Continue to support Bethune-Cookman, and we definitely will continue to support you in any way we can. Huge shout out to Miss Patricia Cadet, General Manager of Joy 106.3 FM. She did have some damage, but she's making it, and she is definitely a resilient person. Great work by them getting the radio station back up and running to continue to bless everyone. For Mr. Ralph Smith, Mr. Larry Wesley, Mr. Jerry Bill, CC Cruse, I'm your host, Mr. Darold Williams. Look forward to seeing you in Tennessee, 5 p.m. kickoff Central Standard Time, where the Cats go into the Tiger Den and defeat those guys up in Tennessee. God bless you. Have a good evening. Hail Wildcats.
Hail Wildcats.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bethune-Cookman University alma mater.